Gabriel Tan here with Rish Roshan Rai. We are looking at Asian football once again with the Asian qualifiers for the 2022 FIFA World Cup coming up. Now, straight away, Rush, we're looking at this big one. It's Iraq versus Iran. Now, we've looked at these teams before because they also faced off in the second round. It's only been a few months, but Rush, for you, has anything changed between the two teams and this matchup? Can we expect anything different?
Look, familiar foes, but plenty of changes, I think, especially on the coaching front. We know Iraq have recently changed head coaches with Dick Advocat coming in, replacing Srečko Katanac. And of course, we remember the last time Iraq beat Iran by 2-1, second round qualifying. Mark Wilmots was still in charge of Iran. That didn't go well at all. But they've turned things around under Skocic. So it's going to be fascinating to see for me what kind of approach they have coming into this game. You know, we saw with Iran against Syria, for example, missing a few players, especially Sada Azmoun missed out through suspension, which is a huge deal for them. You know, I think he's a player with immense quality in those forward areas. And him and Taremi up front, you know, we're talking about two players who are not just one of Asia's best, but perhaps even Europe's best, or even one of the world's best strikers around. You know, they're doing the business for Porto and Zenit St. Petersburg. Yep. So, you know, it'll be fascinating to see for me those two starting up front. They got a really good understanding in those forward positions, and then what sort of structure Iran take going into this game. Because I think with Azmoun missing out against Syria, they went with that lone man up front in Taremi. Then they had Kudus sitting in behind him in that number 10 position. Golizadeh down the right hand side cutting in. Jahan Baksh down the left cutting in as well. So, you know, if they go back, do they stick with that, with Taremi just dropping off Azmoun a little bit? Do they go with a 4-4-2, perhaps Estelahi coming into central midfield? I'd like to see him play because I think he gives them a little bit more control in those positions. Yep. Yes, there's some question marks about his fitness, but still, in terms of his on-the-ball technical quality, he can absolutely drive the game for them in those positions. So it's going to be interesting for me to see, Gabe, because I'm thinking about Iraq as well under Dick Advocat, and they look very structured, very solid, very disciplined and organized against Korea Republic. 4-5-1, 4-4-2 at times, but not so open and expansive. I want to get your thoughts on whether you think that's going to change in this game against Iran.
Yep. I don't think it will change for this game. I think, unfortunately, for Iraq, their first two games are probably the two toughest they could have been dealt in this third round. So it might not change. I think that rivalry of Iran always, you know, means fans are going to expect a little more, and whether or not that means having to show a bit more attacking intent, that remains to be seen. We'll find it out, I guess, when the game kicks off. But overall, I think they have this defensive structure down pat. I think we're getting used to seeing them play with that, you know, that 3-man that becomes a 5-man defense for a few years now. Yes, they can change to a 4 as well, depending on the situation. But, you know, it is a very steady team. I wouldn't change it for the sake of changing it. And, you know, I think we will have to wait a while to see how good or offensively this Iraq team can be, because there is talent there. You know, you look at Muhammad Ali straight away, you know, that's one of the brightest Asian talents out there at the moment. So, you know, I think it will be a bit of an edgy encounter against Iran. But, you know, Rush, you mentioned a few of those Iranian names there. And I think, you know, do you see anything other than an Iran win? You know, Jahan Baksh is, you know, rediscovering his form since that spell in Brighton, now back in the Eredivisie doing well. Is there any chance Iraq can get a result out of this?
Look, I think, you know, what you mentioned was interesting a little bit earlier. And you talked about Korea Republic and Iran being perhaps Iraq's biggest challenges in this group so far, and two tough opening matches. I think it's going to be crucial that these sides, at the very least, you talk about getting a result, and getting a point is a result. And I think it'll be a good result. It'll be a good result for Iran, and it will keep Iraq alive as well. You know, it doesn't sort of set them back too much when you think of the points gap between themselves and Iran, which could potentially be 5 points if Iran end up picking another 3 points here in this game. So I think, you know, seeing out and making sure they don't lose this encounter, both these sides, could potentially lead to a bit of a cagey encounter, Gabe. And I mean, to be fair, aside from that Asian Cup match, which went 3-3 and it went into a brilliant penalty shootout back in 2015 in Australia, games between these two teams over recent history haven't been too open, or haven't had too many goals in there. It could get gritty, it could get, you know, feisty in certain situations. I am tempted to go with a draw in this one. I think a 1-1 draw for me, Gabe. What about you? What's your heart telling you?
The heart's telling me Iran will probably still be too good, but you're right. I don't expect a lot of goals despite the amount of attacking talent on show. I think it's going to be quite similar to what we've seen in recent matches. I think a 1-0 win for Iran, but I always like to go with the experts' prediction, so I'm secretly going to be looking out for that 1-0 draw.